Justice Suryakant, set to be the next Chief Justice of India, somebody who's a first generation lawyer, comes from humble beginnings. Your message.
So it's very interesting. The other day, I was sitting with the Justice Gavai and Justice Suryakant in the Supreme Court, and I was discussing with Justice Gavai about doing something for first generation lawyers. And I said that they are the ones who really are in, they have no guidance and they really need mentoring and they need to be properly taken through the profession and somebody needs to, guide them. So Justice Gavai was very excited. He said, yes, I am also a first generation lawyer. I would love to be part of this, and whenever you do this, I will also be there. Justice Suryakant was listening, and I really didn't know then that he's also a first generation lawyer. He said, Vikasji, I'm also a first generation lawyer. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Having two consecutive Chief Justices who are first generation lawyers is something, very, very, I would say, good for the profession, because ultimately there is a lot of accusation of nepotism in this profession, and they say judges are making their nephews and their sons and their relatives only as judges, and here we see two consecutive Chief Justices both not having any legal background and being the first generation lawyers. So I think that's a very good message for the country. It's a huge encouragement for these young lawyers, because I personally feel, I'm a first generation lawyer, I personally feel that a first generation lawyer has to really struggle in this profession. He really doesn't know where to or whom to look at, how to start and what to do, what principles to follow, how to handle clients, how to handle the profession itself. These two consecutive Chief Justices who are first generation lawyers will give a huge amount of encouragement, and that is why I am very keen, and we are trying to collect that data in the Supreme Court Bar Association of all first generation lawyers and try to do some separate mentoring for them. Because like, for instance, my sons, now they are second generation lawyers, so they are not having the same difficulty which I faced when I started as a lawyer. And I was fortunate to get somebody under whom I mentored, and he really told me the ethics of the profession. I remember there was a very big client. There was a case I had done for a client, and I had won that case for the High Court. It was my initial first or second year. I really didn't have much cases then. So that client said that, Vikasji, if you come to our office, there are many similar such cases, and they will all come to you, and you really need to get them the same order. So I asked my guru, I said, should I go to the office? He said, no question of going to that office. And I didn't get those cases, because anybody could have, done those cases. There was one judgment already in their favor. But that small decision of not going to somebody's office for the purpose of taking a brief, I think it's a huge lesson in our profession. People tell me, how did you get batters? I said I got batters because of the word of mouth. It may be a slow process. Today's youngsters are want to, do a hop, step and jump. They are not ready to, go through the slow process or the grind that we went through. And they want everything instantly. And initially, like most of our, at least people of our times, contemporaries who have been, who've done well in the profession, they recount that their first few years used to be without any earning. There was no thinking of earning. It used to be only learning. And the learning ultimately resulted in earning. But now the juniors are more interested from day one in earning and not in learning. And that's where I feel that the mentoring becomes very, very important as far as first generation lawyers are concerned. Everybody says, how should I get briefs? Now, there is no method by which you can't just sit under a particular tree and briefs will start falling from under the tree. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of perseverance. It's a lot of, in many times, pro bono work where people notice. And one thing I can tell you, that is what I always say, that this is one profession where you don't need a godfather. For sure. This is one profession, if you're ready to work hard, if you're ready to, understand the client, the pain of the client as your own, if you're ready to give it legal shape, if you're ready to, put that extra hours, those midnight slogging, there is no way that you will not be successful in this profession. So when I have to look at a youngster, whom I think I can just tell him that you do this, I sometimes have difficulty in finding out somebody whom I feel will be able to do that kind of commitment for a particular brief. So I feel that this is one profession where Justice Suryakant taking over as the Chief Justice of India will be a huge encouragement for all the first generation lawyers studying in the various law colleges of the country.